Hello, my name is Allison Hill, and I'm a senior data scientist at IBM on the AI strategy and innovation team. Prior to that, I was at our studio for 3 years, where I was a data scientist and a professional educator. And then I transitioned into a role as product manager for data science communication there, working closely with the rmarkdown team. And one of the things I got really good at while I was at our studio was building and deploying websites. And some of my happiest deploys were when I got to use Netlify. And so in this series, what I've been doing is doing just that, taking our markdown sites and shipping them off to Netlify to deploy. And the reason I've been doing that is that for the month of December, Netlify has been offering to do some pretty nice cash donations to charities that I really like. For every site that you build and deploy to Netlify. It can be an older domain that you're kind of dusting off, or you could be just dusting up a new one. They've responded that they are doing the donations for even .netlify.app domains, so you don't even have to have a custom domain. So I think it's a really great way to get some practice building some websites, ripping the Band-Aid off on just deploying things and seeing how they look, and building some silly things that maybe will never get to see the light of day, but could get some money for charity going. So for today's video, what I wanted to do is feature kind of an oldie but goodie package in the rmarkdown ecosystem, which is flexdashboard. All right, I'm going to get started on GitHub by creating a new repository. I think I'm on 06 dashboard, and I'm going to be using the Bs Lib package also, so I'm going to name it as such so that I can remember this. Keep it public, add a README, and then create the repository. So now this is just the empty repository. It's what we're used to looking at. I'm going to copy the HTTPS link so I can clone it in our studio project. File, new project, new directory, version control, git, repository URL. Once I paste that HTTPS link in there, it auto-populates the project directory name. And I'm going to go ahead and create that new project. Okay, so now we have this empty project, nothing there but a README. If you go over to the Git pane, you can see that our studio, by creating the new project, we've added those 2 little default files that it adds for us. So now we're ready to get started. Since we're using the flexdashboard package, let's check to see if I have it installed. I do not believe that I do. So this is a great opportunity to show you what the rmarkdown template wizard looks like when you haven't installed a package. So I'm going to go to File, New File, rmarkdown. And this might be a really familiar menu for you. If this is how you normally create an empty rmarkdown file, you probably go right here and kind of pick the defaults and click OK. But you can also go to From Template, which is really helpful. And if you haven't installed a package that includes an rmarkdown template, it'll actually show up here in this template chooser. So you can see that I have a few packages installed that include rmarkdown templates here. For example, SureEngine, the rmarkdown package itself, postcards. I've already shown a video on how to do that, page down, etc., and distill. So I'm going to go ahead and install the flexdashboard package because it does include a nice rmarkdown template, and I'd like to use it. And I'd also just like to make a flexdashboard in general. So we need the package. Okay, and I'm also going to install the Bs Lib package. So let's go ahead and do that right now. So Bs Lib has sort of an unfortunate name. You could think that it stands for something other than what it does. So it stands for Bootstrap Library. And I think it actually used to be called Bootstrap Libs, and then they shortened it to Bs Lib. Insert emoji where you'd like. I'm going to do session restart. And then now I'm going to go back to that rmarkdown template wizard. So from template, and now you can see, actually, I have 2 new additions. I've got a Bs Lib themed HTML document. So it says custom theming, there's legacy custom theming, and then real-time theming. And then there's a flex dashboard, flex space dashboard, maybe an extra flexy dashboard. And that came when I installed the flex dashboard package. So I'm going to go ahead and open that up. And this is it. Voila. This is your first flex dashboard. It's empty. There's not even example code in there. This is really just a shell. This is a shell to put your ideas into. I'm going to go ahead and knit it. I need to save it. Let's say Penguin's Crayon. I'm going to be making a dashboard about the Palmer Penguins data, which if you don't know who I am, I'm one of the co-authors of the Palmer Penguins data package. And if you don't know what Palmer Penguins is, I'll show you. So you can see it showed up in my little viewer over here to the right. This is just one single HTML file. I'm going to go back to my file viewer pane. So you can see I called my RMD file penguins-crayon. And then when I knit, it created penguins-crayon.html. And that's all I'm viewing in here. And this is actually one of the most important things to realize right off the bat with Flex Dashboard, which is that it's a single RMD file and it creates a single HTML file. This is a single page website. So it might look to you as we build it that it's a little bit more complicated, but it's all populated from a single RMD file. So this is what a simple Flex Dashboard looks like. Not much to write home about, nothing that you'd want to necessarily submit to dusty domains yet, but this is what we've got. So we have a kind of nav bar at the top. We'll kind of populate that with a few things. And then we've got some panels and we can play around with those. And you can imagine that those are really great for being able to, pour in your visualizations, maybe some reactive tables, some HTML widgets, something like that. Since this is a wonderful HTML site, kind of the world is your oyster. If you can create any HTML content, you can throw it here in a Flex Dashboard and have people be able to explore it. All right, so let's dissect a little bit more about how to structure a Flex Dashboard in terms of the layout. And this is something that I found really confusing at first. And it's actually because it took me a while to realize that there's a couple different sort of dialects, like sort of accents, ways that you can write a Flex Dashboard. What they're showing you here in the template is actually a mix of dialects, which is why I found it confusing at first. So I'm going to go to my own slides. So this was from an advanced rmarkdown workshop that I gave at our Studio Conf in 2019. And in it, I introduced several packages. I've already shown you the slides for Shrinjin and I believe Bookdown as well. So this is from the section where I taught Flex Dashboard. Here I'm showing you some examples so you can get kind of inspired. This is one by Julia Silgay. This is one by my friend Jennifer Thompson. Another one by Jen. And so this gives you a little bit of an overview. I'll kind of walk through it quickly. So how does it work? It works by using markdown headings to describe the boxes and how the spaces are laid out in your dashboard. And the nice thing is, if you're not used to using CSS, the layout is sort of implicit and automatic. And the content in the boxes fills the box automatically. And I'll show you what that means in a second. Let's see. So I had people build one for the Great British Bake Off. And this is what I'm showing you right now. This is kind of the plain vanilla right out of the box template, right? So layouts. Layouts is usually the place where you're going to want to kind of do the most futzing. So the default is that we have 3 boxes, and we have those 3 boxes because we have 3 level 3 headers, chart A, chart B, chart C. So let me go back to the source code. You can see here 16, chart A, 25, chart B, 31, chart C. Okay, so you see those words, the chart A, chart B, chart C, and that is what's kind of labeling each of these sort of panels, these boxes, right? And there's only one in the first column. So you might notice like here it says column. You don't see the word column anywhere, but it's described with this kind of in between the brackets, data dash width. And then we have one chart in there, and then you have another column and you have chart B and C in there. And now real quick, I want to show you the difference between this view. And if I go up to the visual editor, switch to visual markdown editor, so there's a little compass up at the top, I'm going to show you what it looks like. So you can see that those lines go away underneath the column. There used to be like a line going all the way across here. And then this data width attribute kind of got shoved into this little nice pill over here. So I'm going to click on that just so you can see. It's like a data width. It's like an additional attribute there that we can have. And the name of this column doesn't really matter. I thought it did. I thought there was something magical about it. I don't believe there is. You can call it whatever you want. But let me show you what it looks like when I go back over to the source. So you can see that the visual markdown editor actually changed something in my source. So what it did was, instead of having those lines underneath column that went all the way across those dashes, now we've got level 2 headers for each column. And this is my preferred syntax for how I would write a Flex dashboard. And the reason being that when I first looked at the template, I thought that the number of dashes were important. I actually thought it was like critical. So I was always copying and pasting to make my columns because I thought that that was important. It turns out that that's not actually critical. It's just another way of doing it. So when you're trying to separate out the columns, the way that you know you're in this kind of world where you're going column by column is in the YAML here. Flex dashboard, flex_dashboard, orientation columns, and then vertical layout is fill. Those are the defaults, and I recommend just kind of starting there. And so we have those 2 columns because we have these 2 column delimiters. Only 3 dashes are actually required. And so the number actually didn't end up mattering at all. It had to be 3, but because you can also use level 2 headers there interchangeably, I recommend doing that because it's a little bit easier for me to read and keep track of what's happening there. Some people like the full delimiters to be able to more easily see the columns, but I think this is a little bit more consistent. It's easier for me to write. So do as you will. They're interchangeable. It doesn't really matter, but you can use only markdown headers if you like. You don't have to use any kind of special delimiters for that column. You can also do this row-wise instead of column-wise. And same thing, if you change the YAML, you can still use your level 2 headers to delineate the rows. And the reason that I like being able to separate things with markdown headers is because you can also have multiple pages. And this is one of those things that I think is a little bit confusing at first about flexdashboard, because it looks to be very like one simple rmarkdown file that you're looking at in the source, but you can actually make multi-page HTML output here. So I'm going to add here page 1, and I'm going to add down here page 2. So you'll notice that I'm adding a level 1 header now. I didn't have those before in this document. So I'm going to reknit and show you what that looks like. And I don't think I need to reopen it. I can just refresh in the browser. So now you can see that in my upper nav bar, I can see that page 1 has these and page 2 currently has nothing. I can add something real quick there. Just add some text. There we go. So I'm populating page 2 now, and you can keep going. I mean, you can make these monster flex dashboards if you want with multiple pages. I don't totally recommend that, but you can do a lot with flex dashboard here. Okay, back to my slides. So that's adding pages. Let me make sure I cover everything. And technically, you can also demarcate pages with 3 or more equal signs or equal symbols. But that's where I find things get a little confusing. That's why I like kind of just using the hash symbols and doing level 1, level 2, and level 3 headers. It kind of helps me keep track of things better. Okay. Let's see. So another thing that I should mention is that in this template, it loads Flex Dashboard, the package at the top. You don't actually have to do that in order to knit to the Flex Dashboard output format. You do if you want to use some of these components that I'm showing these slides, like value boxes or gauges. Those are things that are built into the Flex Dashboard package. You can add things like HTML widgets. Let's go ahead and add the navigation bar here. So you could do source code embed up here. And this is a pretty cool thing. You see what populated up in my right corner here is this little source code icon. And what it shows you is actually like a little kind of modal pop-up of what your actual source RMD looks like, which is pretty cool. And again, reminds me to remind you that we're still in a single RMD document, even when you have these multiple pages. You can also, as I showed here, do this, have a little link to a GitHub repository so that people can navigate there. So let me see here. I'm going to add this one instead, and I believe it had to be in quotes. There we go. So I believe the icon should change instead of that little, yep, now it looks like a little GitHub thing. And if I open it up, voila, it takes me to the source code. There's nothing there yet, I need to push, but I think that's a really cool thing. It's really nice for making things more shareable and keeping track for you. Sometimes I end up with deployed sites and I forget where the source code is. So it's really nice to always link back to your GitHub repository. Okay, so now we have the most boring Flex dashboard in the world. Let's go ahead and start adding to it. And I have a few ideas. I wanted to make a Flex dashboard for some plots that I used in a talk that I gave recently, where I was talking about the development of a few different packages where I'm a co-author on, and I had pulled some code from various places to be able to plot CRAN downloads of these different packages. So I thought that would be kind of cool to make a dashboard, and then I thought I'd use Bs Lib to style it up and make it kind of look nice. So what I'm first going to do is I'm going to start throwing some content in the boxes. and styling that up. And then I'm going to finish up with using Bs Lib to add in some custom theming. So I'm going to start by opening up a recent file because I actually did some prep today. I have, let's see, recent file, there's Untitled, clever. So I was using a few packages. I'm going to paste them in here. Oh, let's just paste the actual calls there. So I'm going to add them below. I'm going to comment out library flex dashboard because I'm not going to actually use any cages or anything. And just so as a reminder that you don't actually have to have the package loaded in order to be able to knit to an output format. That took me an embarrassing amount of time to realize myself. So here you're going to need to install all these packages if you don't have them. I'm going to be using ggplot and I want to be able to use the pipe. So I'm just going to load the whole tidyverse package. For me, that's easier. I already have Palmer Penguins installed. If you don't, it's available from Crayon. Palettier is a really great package that I'm also going to possibly use for doing my color palettes for these plots. So we'll see how that works out for me. It's by my friend Emil Hivilfelt, and it's a really great package. It's really nice. It gives you access to a number of different color palettes in R and kind of gives a unified syntax for working with the color palettes. So I think that's a really nice package to use. And then I was going to use Reactable also to make interactive HTML tables for these. So I thought I'd just kind of make this like useful for myself to be able to pull back on this so that I didn't have to reference this talk that I gave a little while ago where I borrowed code from a bunch of different places. I want to kind of keep track of it all in one place. And then this also helps me because I can share it with my co-authors, Allison Horst and Kristen Corman. So I'm going to change the label of page one. So this is going to be my Crayon downloads tab now. And then maybe I'll add some like penguin plots to page 2. So it's not totally stuff that Allison and Kristen haven't seen, but we'll have fun with it. So this data width attribute I can change. This was obviously setting it up so that the first column was wider than the second column, so 650 versus 350. I'm not sure that it matters what it adds up to. I think I remember reading in the documentation that you can have it add up to whatever you want it to be. I'm going to leave that for now and then see if I can play around with it. Another thing that I remember that I really like doing is being able to add, I think, tab set here. So you can actually make a column be tabbed. Let me see if I can make that work this way. I think it's .tab set that I do. Yes. So you can make tabbed columns that way. Now I wish that I could tell you that this one could be tabbed, for example. It cannot. So you can only do a tabbed row or a tabbed column. You can't do, this is all in one column. So if you set this column to be tabbed, it's going to do the same thing it did here, where it's going to be chart B and then chart C here. So I can't make this panel alone be tabbed and then have something below it, I think. I'm pretty sure. Yeah. So it's kind of a bummer, but it is what it is. So it's another neat feature though of Flex Dashboard that you can actually do that. I find it really helpful to be able to sometimes have like the plot on one panel, and then when you tab over, maybe you can see the data, something like that. Maybe like a little reactable table to show you the data underneath the plot, things like that. Okay, so I'm going to go back. I had actually downloaded the downloads data from Crayon, so I'm going to add that here. I believe that it's not going to show. I think it seems like, I'm pretty sure Flex Dashboard has a default where echo false is true. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to make it so that I'm using the Crayon logs package. You would need to have that installed also. And I'm using it to pull download information from the Palmer Penguins distill and blog down packages from August 2020 to December 1st, 2021. And I thought I just wanted to do that just because I wanted to compare them and see how Palmer Penguins is doing. Check in on the little penguins. But I didn't want to, every time I knit, I didn't want to be querying Crayon logs and re-downloading the same information because it's not going to change. So I wanted to go ahead and create a little CSV for it. So in this code chunk, I am going to download it locally. So you can see I don't have it here, but I'm going to download this. And I hope it will just work. So there, it writes the CSV to crayonlog.csv. So after that, I'm actually going to set this code chunk to be eval false. Because I don't actually want it to re-download again, because again, I'm trying to avoid re-querying the Crayon logs. set eval to true. First run. Okay. And I think I can make like a conditional function here that would like, if that doesn't exist in the download, I'll save that for another time. So I'm just going to make do with what I've got. So now that I've downloaded that, I should be able to run that little chunk and see the downloads there. So you can see I've got all the download data. So every day I have a count per package, and I have a few different packages here: blog down, distill, and Palmer penguins. Okay. Then I wanted to, so I have daily downloads, and then I have some daily downloads that are smooth, totally stealing from code that Hadley Wickham wrote that I linked to here to show some nice trends with the data. I thought it was a little bit more readable because, as we'll see, the daily downloads are pretty spiky and a little bit hard to see patterns very easily. Then I have median weekly downloads, cumulative package downloads. So I have a few different ways of visualizing these. So I just kind of wanted to put these all in one place, and some place where I could easily see what was going on. Okay, so I am going to first grab my daily downloads, and I'm going to throw those as chart A, daily downloads. And let's see, I think if I run this, it should just look nice. Okay. This reminds me that I really hate having the graphics produced in line. It drives me bonkers. I'm going to do chunk output in console and then remove that output there. And then let's see, will it show? Praise be. That's better. All right. I don't know. I'm big on keeping my RMD file as the source, and I don't like rendered output in my source file. It really bothers me. I like having output print in my console, and I like having my plots over there in the plot pane. For me, it allows me to take better advantage of, the whole RStudio IDE as I enjoy it. I want to use all my windows and all my panes to the maximum. So you can see this is what I mean with that like really sawtoothy daily downloads pattern. So it's kind of, you can see general trends, but it's a little bit difficult to see, and it looks like it's just kind of very spiky. So for that reason, maybe I'll grab the smoothed data also. And maybe what I'll do is I'll put that one first. Daily downloads. Smoothed. And then there, and then I'll remove this one. So this should be, see what happens when I render. Should now be that I've filled up these two tabs here with the daily download stuff. So there's the daily download smooth. So you can see it's definitely a lot easier to read, right? You can see that Hadley's code nicely creates this, this dark gray sort of background where you can see all the variation, but then the colored line actually shows you kind of more of a trend line. So it's just a little bit clearer to read. And then you can flip over here to see the daily downloads. So this reminds me that I also have another really weird quirk, which is that I really prefer theme minimal. So ggplot2 theme set. I think it's this. I haven't done this in a while, especially live. All right, let's see how we do there. So that takes care of the not the gray background anymore, or it should, if I did it right. I don't know why I like that better. Some people really don't like living in a frameless world. I like the white background, so I like theme minimal. Okay. And now I'd like to do something about the defaulty colors. I think defaults are just fine for most things. But for this, I kind of wanted to go a little custom because I want to do a custom theme, and because it's the penguins, I thought I'd check out Palantir because I really like all the different palettes that Emil gives you access to. And then he also has it's linked in the Palantir documentation. Let's see, where did he say? Additionally, this GitHub repo showcases all the palettes included in the package and more, and then he links to it. So this is a really nice repo that gives you kind of an overview of all the different colors that you can access in Palantir by package. And I think this one is super helpful for kind of being able to just peruse things really quickly. So I was looking in this earlier and I was thinking there's a few from the Studio Gilby package that I actually really like that might kind of be penguins-esque, like a little Antarctic. I was looking at this Laputa medium one, for example. That one's kind of got some nice, like, you know, kind of icy penguin to me colors. And then there was a few from National Park Colors too, which is a package that I love from Katie Jolly. Let's see if I can get there. Nord also, obviously, that would be a good one too. Sometimes these are a little bit too pale for me though. I need to be able to see things super clearly too. So let's see, is National Park Colors in here? Let's do a search. Nope, National Park Colors is not in here. Let's go over here. National Park Colors, Katie Jolly. Here we go. I love this package. I think it's such a fun package. I think it's only available, yeah, it's not available on Crayon. It's only available on GitHub, but it's a great package. Here are her lovely palettes. I think these are kind of fun, and some of them might be very penguins-esque. Like, ooh, Channel Islands is kind of cool. I could go for Channel Islands. Okay, that's kind of tough to spell. It's Channel and then L and then a capital I, but it looks like two L's in there. Okay. And I pulled up for myself how to use Emil's package from another analysis that I did because I wasn't totally confident that I know. Ooh, Great Basin actually would be cool too. Those are kind of like some icy penguin colors. Okay, let's see what I like better when I change it. Okay, let's go to the first one. And I know now there is a way to create like a default color palette. Maybe I'll update my code when I figure that out. But for now, I'm just going to do the lazy way. I'm going to do, oh, it's Palettier. Let's go to Allison's own code because that's how I learn most things. Ah, here we go. Scale color Palettier D. So it's for discrete. Scale color Palettier D. So for this kind of thing, you want to make sure that you're actually mapping to the right aesthetic, fill versus color. I'm using color here for doing this trend plot. So National Park Colors, what did I say? Channel Islands. And I said it was going to be tricky to type because it looks like that. Let's see how that looks to me. Oh, it doesn't know about theme minimal yet. This is a little bit too light. Let's go back to Katie's. Oh, now I'm worried Great Basin is going to have too light of a one too. Go back to my own code for a second. Did I save a way to change which one I was? Just out of curiosity, I'm going to see if this works. No clue if it's going to work, but I'm guessing that is not going to work. Yeah, it's not subsettable. I don't know how I get to the, if I don't want the first three, I'll have to look up that too. But if I'm limited to the first three, that means I've got to find a first three that are all kind of darker. Everglades could work, Badlands could work. Ooh, Crater Lake might be able to work. Let's do, or Arches. Oh, Arches is cool. Let's do Arches. Let's see how that looks. Arches. The first one might be a little dicey. Let's see. Color gray 70. If I go up, does that get paler or darker? Let's do that. Even, does gray 85 exist? Okay, I'm kind of happy with that. All right, so watch me make up my mind and then change it again. Let's see this one. I'm happy with that. Okay, cool. Let's knit. See what's happening over here. Ah, ooh, that's so much better. I'm enjoying that already. Okay, it definitely looks like, you know, kind of what I was going for, a little icy for little penguin guys. Okay, So you can see I've got daily downloads. I've got daily download smooth. These don't necessarily need to be so big. I might just take out the data width, or maybe I could do this to be 450. And then what did they add up to before? Right, it was 650, right? So then I just up this one to 550. Oh, I don't really want to do that. Well, let's see. Boom. Oh, that's not awful. We'll keep it for now. Okay. So now we have my downloads done. And then over on the other side, what I wanted to add was median weekly downloads. Let's do that one. Label it as such. Median weekly downloads. And then I'm going to just copy and paste here. Let's make sure it looks same here. I hope I've done everything right. Voila, I'm happy with that. All right, median weekly and then cumulative package downloads. My last plot. I'm going to shove it down here in chart C. Cumulative downloads. Oh, and then I've got to do my colors so they all match. And again, I know there's a global way to do this now in the setup chunk, but I can't remember what it looks like right now. Ironically, I think I remember seeing only a tweet about it and I can't never find it in the documentation. So I'll have to find the tweet before I figure out how to do it. Ooh, that's fun. Oh, but look what I did. I basically ended up, oh, because I had a Reactable thing in here. Okay, I'm not going to do that. It looks like it just basically shoved a plot on top of a table. So it's good to know. All right, there we go. So now we've got that. So what I could do is maybe what people might be most interested in is being able to see the median weekly downloads, but maybe as a table. So maybe what I could do is I could shove the cumulative downloads up into a tab up here, because that kind of makes sense to me a little bit. It's kind of like daily downloads smooth, daily downloads, and then cumulative downloads. And then maybe down here, I could actually put a Reactable table. That might be kind of nice. But then of course, this does have a really nice effect of just like penguins look like they're just taking off and ruling the world since they started blasting off on Cran. So I'll do that just to show that you can keep adding. And this kind of shows a good way that I would typically just start developing a Flex dashboard. I would kind of play around with what my data is and how it looks, how much I want to show people. And you'll notice that none of the code is being shown. So if you actually wanted to show the code, I think the default is echo false for all of these. Weekly medium. So if you wanted to, you'd have to set echo equals true on a code chunk if you wanted to show that, or change your global overall. Ready? There we go. So now you can go over, so now you can see smooth, daily, cumulative, and now you can kind of see how you can explore in a Reactable table, like an HTML table where you can kind of tab around and see things, different weeks, the median downloads, begin week, etc. Now you can do all kinds of things with all of these packages. I'm just kind of showing things more to show Flex dashboard, not necessarily to show you how to use Reactable or any of these other things. So I'm pretty happy with this. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a few things over to the penguin plots just to show you how to populate a page too. It's nothing that requires too much thought. I'm going to go to Allison Horst's. Okay, so here's the Palmer Penguins documentation site. And we, I think, did a pretty good job of showing you some great plots that you can make right off the bat to show off the Palmer Penguins. So I'm going to add these. I'm just going to kind of change the colors a little bit. So let's go over to my page 2. And let's do column 1 first. And I'm going to try to do like 4, like a 4 by 4. So let's do Islands is one. Whoopsie daisies. Let's make a new chunk first. Okay. And then scale fill, I need this, but for fill, scale, fill that. Is this going to work? No, it's all pedantic about guide equals false. Please use guide equals none. Okay, cleared that. That's a nice color palette. I'm enjoying this. Okay, so that is islands. And then I have some nice scatter plots here. Which ones? There's a lot of nice scatter plots. Let's do this one. It's kind of a nice one too. So we'll add this one. So you can you keep going. So I'm in the same column. Now I need to create a label for this one. So I'm going to say, this is species island. And then the next one, I believe, is species. Yes, it's colored by males and females. Little penguins. Okay, and then again, I need to do this. Let's see how that one looks. Uh-oh. Oh, it's color, not fill. Just what I told you about. Perfect. Okie dokes. I guess that's a little, I'm okay with that. All right, and then let's start a new column. Let's do the kind of most, well, here's something useful. I'm gonna go ahead and knit this now. And I'm gonna show you that you don't have to even do, 2 by 2. You can do all kinds of different layouts. Let's knit. Gone yet? It's knitting. Uh-oh, I might have done something wrong. No, okay. All right, so you can see here, I have only done one column. So it's just making the content auto fit there, right? So you can just keep adding. Like if I add another plot here, but I don't add a column, it's just gonna keep stacking them and make them auto fit. Not necessarily gonna look great, but that's kind of how you just start adding to your Flex dashboard. So let's go back to here. You can see here, I added tabs there. So that's why those got tabbed, but I haven't done tabs here. So these would just keep adding. So if I add another plot here, it's gonna add a column of 3. But instead what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna add another column. So level 2, column, doesn't matter. It's gonna be evenly spaced. And if I don't specify that data width, it's just gonna shove it in and again, make it fit. So it just makes it fit evenly as the default, which is nice. It's a nice default to have. So let's go back here. I'm going to do like the quintessential one, which is if you go to examples using ggplot2 data, there's the Simpsons paradox. So I'm going to show first the version. So what this looks like is it's the penguin bill dimensions, bill length on the X, bill depth on the Y. And if you look at that, you might think that there's, maybe little or, kind of a slightly negative correlation between bill length and bill depth, where depth is like this and bill length is like this, and then bill depth is like this. So you might think that they're not totally related, but if you scroll up and you actually do it by species, you'd actually see that as bill length increases, bill depth also increases. So as they get longer, they get wider within each species. So it's a really great kind of simple example of Simpsons paradox there. So I'm going to add a chunk here. And let's call this one, if you ignore species, I'm going to remove this thingamajigger. Let's take care of scale color. Is it color now or is it fill? I'm not going to be bit by the same thing twice. It's color. Okay. Oh, and it looks like I have some theme minimal in here, but I already did that at the larger level. Let's make sure I don't have, there's another one. Don't need it. It's not necessary. Okay, let me make sure that this plot runs. Let's see how it goes. Oh, I didn't need the scale color because I don't actually have color. That's interesting. Did we keep that there? Oh yeah, we should change that in the documentation. Okay, now if I copy the actual, if you include species. And this is why I think Palmer penguins is such a great data set to be able to teach with. It's just so clear and nice, and it gives you some really crisp examples of some of these kind of harder to grasp concepts. Kind of very lucky to have found this little website. It's just this little gem kind of hiding out. That people took a lot of time to collect all this data in real life too. So it's kind of an amazing feat. Can you imagine being in the field and and measuring all of these penguins? And that's what they did at the Palmer Station. So this is from the Palmer Station Long-Term Ecological Research Network. Like they actually measured all these penguins over several years. Like, wait, let's see. Penguins year. Yeah, like look, penguins count year. Yeah, 2007, 2008, 2009. I mean, can you imagine how much work it took to get all of these penguins data? And then now we just get to pull it in an R package and be able to enjoy talking about penguins. It's fantastic. All right. So what we should see now is a 2x2. Yes. There we go. So we have species by island, sex by species. If you ignore species up here, and if you include species down here. So just kind of a really simple, but you can see now that you can just start building up these Flex dashboards with all kinds of different information, make it usable for yourself, make it usable to check back in for yourself. We could do all kinds of pretty advanced stuff with this. You can make it parameterized. So I could have it pulling in the CRAN logs like every week and set up something that's like got a GitHub action with it, and it would pull every week and do a fresh dashboard for me. You can do all kinds of fancy things when you start really getting your kind of feet up underneath you with all of the different like accessory packages I think of with rmarkdown, GitHub Actions being one of them, to be able to allow you to like schedule something and be able to build it. But what we're going to do is we're going to deploy this to Netlify. I'm going to deploy this version first, and then I'm going to come back and I'm going to do some Bs Lib theming at the very end. But first, I got to get rid of the untitled. That's bothering the heck out of me. So let's go back up to the top, and I'm going to say, like, how are the Palmer penguins doing? That's going to take up a lot of space, and I'm probably not going to like how it looks. I thought that would take that long. Okay, there we go. Okay. All right, so I'm pretty happy with how this looks overall. I am going to go ahead and push everything up to GitHub. So I'm going to commit, and you know, everybody can complain at me all you want. I am going to just like committed everything all at once. My draft dashboard. Yeah, I know. I don't necessarily have to include the CRAN log. Maybe what I'll do, because it doesn't actually have to run, maybe I will add that before. Thank you for the warning. Let's do that. There we go. So I'm actually going to leave the CRAN log just kind of as is locally. Let's see, I'll probably still get a warning because I think my HTML file is quite large. But first dashboard. Let's get it. Okay, so let's go over here. We should see everything update. Let's check it out. All right, cool. So now I'm going to, where's my Netlify at? Netlify. Log in. And add a new site. There we go. main. And again, there's no build, nothing like that. And we're just deploying main. So I'm going to go ahead and deploy the site. Eager Blackwell. Okay, it's been published. Let's check it out. Oh no, kidding. Okay, we know why this doesn't work, right? So now we should be back over here. Remember, I named it penguins-cran, right? So it's actually accessible from the URL, but because I was silly and named it something not index, it's penguins-cran. Right? Yeah. So your heart can relax a little bit. Don't have heart-stopping moments, but let's fix it. Okay. So I'm going to go back. I'm going to delete the HTML that I have. I'm going to rename this dude because this is the only HTML file that's going to be in here. And I don't really want to do anything else in here. That's very complicated. I got to reknit the thing. And nothing should change, but our URL will be a little bit cleaner, which makes me happy, right? That one's not found. That's great. All right, commit. Let's switch it to index. Renaming, so URLs are cleaner, commit, close, push. Now let's head over to Netlify really quick, see if I can catch the build. So it's happening. It should detect that I pushed to master or main. I'm going to close my local preview real quick just to see. Okay, so I renamed it there. Check back over here. Did it detect it yet? Processing published. Cool. Now I'm going to refresh this and it's going to say it can't be found, right? Don't freak out. Now we can just remove penguins-cran. Happy days are here again. Let's go ahead and change that. Let's see if I can get, let's see, PP dashboard. Maybe that's not the best acronym. I was just throwing shade at Bs Lib, but PP dashboard is probably not great either. Let's do penguins, new crayon. Okay, so now I have this link. Luckily, no one else has taken that. That's great. I'm going to go over to my about under GitHub and put that there so I'll always remember it. So there, now I have a URL that I could actually send off to Dusty Domains right now if I wanted to, but I'm not because I want to do some Bs Lib stuff because this is still too defaulty for me. So I'm going to go over to the Flex Dashboard documentation now, which is actually a really great site. Under Get Started, you'll see a lot of helpful stuff about components, layouts, most of the stuff that I've already kind of gone through. There's also some examples where you can see a few examples that use Shiny, examples that don't, and you can usually find the sources for them. And then under articles, you'll see a few like using Flex Dashboard, using Shiny. But what I want to show you is theming Flex Dashboards. So I wrote this with Carson Sievert over the summer. And this was right when he started working on the Bs Lib package, which gives us basically the ability to use Bootstrap and to be able to actually customize the way that Bootstrap works and looks using the YAML. It's not totally optimal because I usually like using, you know, a cascading style sheet or something as a separate file, but there's a really nice, easy kind of plug and play functionality here for being able to theme a Flex Dashboard really quickly. And that is if you go down to this custom themes. So you can develop your own custom Bs Lib themes, or you're using Bootstrap, but you're able to supply your own colors, like the hex codes for them. You can see here, BG is background, FG is foreground. I wish I could tell you that there's some great documentation on what those different variables are and what they mean. You kind of have to learn your way around and start going through the Bs Lib documentation itself, but this vignette helps you at least get started. So I'm going to just copy and paste this whole darn thing. So the real key is to use this theme key here. So underneath Flex Dashboard, you have to have a theme. Let's do this. And then of course the indentation gets all off. So it's like that. So this should create a dashboard that looks like this. Not my taste, but we shall carry on. Let's see how it does. Okay. And remember, I have the Bs Lib package loaded or installed, not necessarily loaded. There we go. actually looks different than what Carson's looks like. And oh Lord, what did it do to my Reactable? Oh no, that's ugly. Not super helpful, but everything else looks all right. But you can see that I've changed the fonts. I've changed the navbar colors. I wish it hadn't changed how my Reactable looks. It's not the most helpful thing. So we'll see. Sometimes things are suboptimal. All right, so let's get back. I am going to do some quick changes. So the code font here doesn't matter because I'm never showing any of the code itself. So I'm just gonna get rid of that. Base font, I don't really even see the base font. Is it only using base font and it's not ever using the, that's interesting. I don't see the heading font Sen being used anywhere there, nor here. Let's test this. There's a new font that I really, really like. Let's try Francis. It's a fun font. I enjoy it. It reminds me of penguins. It's a, I don't know, I'm gonna picture a penguin walking around. I kind of picture if a penguin was embodied in a font, it would be Francis. Let's see. Let me look up Francis font. Let's see, images. Yeah, goofy. It's a goofy font. Honk for wonky fonts. That's what I always think of as mute Francis, a new typeface from undercase type foundry. Honk for wonky fonts. So that's exactly how I think of the Francis font. It's a wonky font. I love it. Yeah. See, I don't see any other fonts anywhere else in use. So I'm not going to even bother with the other one. I don't think this is actually used heading font. I mean, my gut would tell me it should be actually in the headings, but I don't know. It doesn't seem to be there in the headings. So maybe the base font is what it's at. Let's see if I try like one that I know what it looks like, Lotto. That looks very different from Francis. I'm pretty sure I don't see it anywhere on this site. Yeah, not changing anything. So do with it what you will. I don't think the heading font seems to be doing anything there, but we do know that the navbar background is changing. There's a way in Palantir to be able to, I think, see, yes, here's Palantir D. All functions now support tab completion to easily access hundreds of choices. And then if you do that, I think it has to be in, okay, and I can't copy paste. Here's what I want. So what I want is the hex codes actually from the colors that I already picked. Because yeah, I do that. I do make sure that the colors in my plots match the color in my, is that going to work? Ooh, look at that, cool. Okay, so what I would like to do is I really kind of like that orange. It kind of reminds me of the penguins. And the last 2 digits you should know in a hexadecimal usually have to do with like alpha transparency. So FF is 100% opaque. So you can change that to make it more transparent, and you're going to have to Google how to do that. There's Stack Overflow answers for how to do that, but that's why they all end in FF. Technically, you can change that. Like, I think usually I think of it as you can do like 80, for example, for a little bit of alpha, 10 for a lot, I think, or it might be the reverse, but you can kind of think of it on a scale of 0 to 99, I think, but don't quote me on that. I'm not necessarily teaching you about that right now. So I'm going to grab this orange and see what I think of it. And this is kind of showing one of the things that I think is a little bit tricky about this is that you can't really keep track in the RStudio IDE, like what color that is. So I'm going to, I think I can do hashtags for comments or hashes for comments. So let's do orange here, see if I can use that. And then I would like, none of these are really good text colors, I think. This one, it's funny, this looks darker. If that's the third color and then that's the third color there, that one ends up looking darker than this. I'm gonna Google that one and see what color this actually is because it looks much darker in the plots. Yeah, that was actually a decent text color. Let me do a triple check my text color. I go to accessiblecolors.com to do this. And let's put orange as the navbar background. And let's make sure, okay, that passes AA, but it does look kind of yuck. So I might be changing my mind. Let's try blue. The blue might be kind of pretty with that.
Let's try background colors blue. Okay, so that still passes AA. So that means that there's a decent enough color contrast there. The required color contrast here is 4.5 and I've got 6.29. So I'd be okay with that. That works for me. If you don't pass it, then it gives you some recommendations over here. So I really like this website because it's super simple and it allows me to check color contrast for accessibility really quickly. That's not the only piece of accessibility that matters, but it's a nice one that I think matters for a lot of people, including myself. I have just fine vision. I obviously need glasses, but I really appreciate when people give me enough color contrast so that I can read their text a little bit easier. So I think it helps everyone to at least improve this, although it's not all there is to making web content more accessible. I think it's a piece that there's not many great excuses for not taking care of it. And I always think it ends up looking better. So this is always my first pass to make sure that I'm developing something that other people can read and appreciate, because that's the whole point of it, right? So I think if I do primary, that should change that. And then I was going to change this because I did not enjoy that color combination there. As my daughter says, I did not enjoy that color combo. My daughter's really into different color combinations lately. So let's see what this looks like. She's so funny lately. When she gets dressed, she says like, Mom, look at my color combo. I don't know. So I probably say that too much and she's picked up on it. I like different color combos. Ooh, that looks fun. Looks like primary did nothing for me though. Let's see. Yeah, so I don't know what primary does, but I like the blue. That's nice. Let's try foreground FG. Maybe that's, and I think it does something semi-creative already. So it's not going to give you the exact text colors that you're asking for. Kind of unfortunate. Still going. Yeah. So I was able to change the navbar background, which frankly is important enough. Oh, look. Foreground changed my Reactable, so it's actually readable now. All right, so I fixed my own accessibility problem already, which is helpful. So what did we learn? I'm pretty sure that if you just did primary there, that wouldn't have worked. Let me update this. This is blue. This changed Reactable text color. Yay. Background, I don't really think that matters. I think it's this, I think it's like this framing color back here. Let's see, I'm gonna put, yeah, let's try that one. That's kind of a fun little color. Let's just see what happens if I do that. If I'm right, if that's what's changing it. And then primary, let's try that as orange. I'm guessing it does nothing. Orange. I'm kind of watching it render in the bottom to see when it's done, but I always hit refresh multiple times, so sorry. There we go. Oh, okay. So what did happen when I changed foreground, it looks like it changed the navbar text color and then it changed this body color, I think. But it didn't change these colors. I don't know how to change those colors. I don't know if Carson gives me the keys to do that here. Let's see, I used to know these things. Real time, and then I went into this. Let's see, oh, it looks like I was able to change those. Let's go to my own, did I save it somewhere? Shoot. Here, this is what I did. Headings color. Looks like I even had a question not working. Shall we see? Headings color. Let's change it to orange just to see if it works. Headings color. And this is what I mean about the Bs Lib variables. You kind of have to do some spelunking around to figure out like, how would you have known headings dash color exists? I'm not entirely sure that I can give you a great answer to that. I wish it was easier. I wish all the things were easier. I wish I could take away all the pain. Okay, so headings color does nothing for us. Maybe that's because my heading font doesn't work either. I don't know. I wonder, out of curiosity, like if I do something, let's try this. Is this orange? Let's see what happens. Yeah, so that's orange. Okay, I have no explanation for this. So if you want to use the headings font, so that's actually showing you the Lotto font too. So for some reason, the only way to, headings are only H4s. So use those if you'd like, and you can style them. I have no advice for how to color the actual tabs here. I would think that some kind of headings would work. This one seemed to be the FG. I don't think primary here is doing anything because it's bright orange. And we don't see any bright orange other than this H4 header. So orange does not seem to do anything for me here. I'm sure it does when you're using Shiny, which I think this has been more kind of like battle tested with that, but for what it's worth, I'm going to remove this H4, but good to know. So that's why headings font doesn't work for us. Maybe what I'll do is I'll add one last thing. I think if I add something called with the sidebar class, let's try doing this. I'd seen this happen on something else. Does this work? This is kind of a nice feature to have. I think a lot of times it's used for Shiny Flex dashboards because it's a way for users to kind of see more clearly where the inputs are. But it should add a sidebar to the left here, and it kind of gives you a little place to sort of ground users, which I like sometimes depending on what you're doing. Yeah, you have this little sidebar. But I think it's nice because otherwise sometimes users can feel like they're sort of dumped into a Flex dashboard and they're like, what am I doing? So you can use this as kind of like a way to orient people. I'll go back to the Palmer penguins and just kind of steal some of our stuff on that, just like throw it in there. Oh, that's not what I wanted. Here, Palmer penguins. I'll put like the goal of it. I'll put the data, how it was collected, and then I'll do a little code font here. Oh, and now that I'm doing code font, you could actually kind of change how that looks by styling that with Bs Lib. I'm not going to obsess about it. And then, oh, there's the bill length and bill depth. Oh, bill depth is this way. Okay, so I was doing this. I was doing bill width. It's actually bill depth. So bill length and then bill depth, the colon, I think. That's why the image is really helpful. I'm going to put the data license because I think that's important. And then let's do that. Citation Palmer penguins. And then I don't necessarily want this to run because I think it's going to be a giant printout on the sidebar. I think it's going to be too much. So I'm going to do let's not include results hide. I could do eval false too. It doesn't really matter, but let's see if I can get how that all looks to me. So this should now be sort of like a little info thing. Here we go. I don't know. I really wish I could make this a different font than these. I wish these were headers and then this was like a body or something. It looks like it's actually not showing anything. Oh, I need to do echo true. I even said that out loud that we had to do that to make sure code showed up, didn't I? One thing that's new in knitr, if you want to update your knitr, I believe you have to do like hash pipe. You can do your, oops. Oh, did you see that? Here. You can do your knitr code chunks like this too. And this should work in the exact same way. So it's hash and then pipe. And you may not see totally value in this yet, but if you start doing more of like figures with alternative text, with captions, things like that, your chunk options can kind of wind around each other and get kind of long, wrappy, and pretty annoying to read. So I find that a really nice new feature that we added. Oh, there we go. Oh gosh, why is the, I don't have the wherewithal to figure out what's going on with the code font background. I'm sure there's ways to change this in Bs Lib, but Allison is not totally in the mood for that. But so far, I actually think this is a decent little dashboard that we've got going here. I wish you could more easily see which page you're on here. I'm not quite sure why this is not updating. Penguin plots versus Crane downloads. It's not, looks like I'm kind of frozen up. And then source code. So I'm going to push this and I'm going to put it in Dusty Domains and call it done. Bs Lib styling. I'm reasonably happy with that. I really like that National Park colors color palette. I think that's kind of fun for the penguins. The sweet little pings. All right, here we go. Deploys. Okay, it's starting up. Build ready to start. I've seen this one before. This could take forever. I really sincerely hope not, but they might be icing me out here on the Netlify. So I'm gonna, in the process, I'm gonna clean up these. Accessiblecolors.com. Really like that website. It's a great website for resources. Oh, this was my previous one. Oh, we did better. Did a lot better. Oh, this is what's currently deployed. Yeah, I think this is much better. Oh, looks like I'm done. Let's refresh. Oh, it's not Eager Blackwell anymore. It's Penguins Crayon. Yay. All right. Decent enough. If I could, I would figure out how I could make this different text colors than these and different font. Some things you can't do. Oh, I wonder if it's body font. Okay, I'm just gonna try it really quick because I can't handle it. Okay, I'm so sorry. This is part of my process. Okay, I'm just kind of throwing it out there. I'm not sure that there's actually a body font in Bs Lib. But it feels like there should be. Execution halted. Dang, that's why. Yep. No, there's no body font. All right, so I'm gonna leave that. It's for another day. All right, so let's dust it up, put it in Dusty Domains, and where did my URL go? There we go. I'm going to head over to Dusty Domains. I have it open somewhere. Dusty Domains. Here we go. So dusty.domains. I'm going to go ahead and submit it. Allison Hill, the URL 2021. And then I'm going to real quick stop my share so I can enter my email address. Okay. Dusting off their machines. Share screen again. Oh, wow. Bingo. Check out my site that contributed $500 to charity, penguins-crayon.netlify.app. So thank you for joining me in this journey. Please clap and have a great time exploring Flex Dashboard. It's a fun package and you can deploy very quickly and easily, style it, and I hope you have fun exploring it some more.